Hello world, it's BirdOPrey5, Qapla. And this is a health update. Uh, I feel like I owe this to the community that has been so kind to me these last few days. And uh, uh, again, I need to thank Captain Track, who kind of forced me into seeking assistance from Gary, Nerdrotic, and Doomcock. Both of them, uh, Gary and Doomcock, shouted this out on their Friday night shows to literally thousands and thousands of people. And I probably wasn't going to ask. I was a little too shy about asking, but Captain Track kind of gave me the push I needed to go to you guys for help. And both of you have been nothing but amazingly kind. So I thank both of you for that. And I thank Captain Trek for his work in starting this process. So for those who don't know, I'm BirdOPrey5 or Joe. I have been bedbound, living literally out of a hospital bed in my living room for 12 years, 11 years now. 12 years I was sick. In 2009, I had been working, I had living a normal life. And then one day I ended up getting pancreatitis, ended up in the hospital, ended up in a coma, and a very long and painful year later, made it back home and have been literally in this physical bed ever since. How does that happen? I have a whole separate video called the BirdOPrey5 origin story up on my secondary channel. I will put the link in the description. If you want to hear literally my life story, it is in that video. But more important is today. What's going on today? About a month ago, I was diagnosed with pneumonia. I was short of breath. I knew something was wrong. My doctor ordered a chest x-ray. They saw what looked like pneumonia. She came, she verified it was pneumonia. She gave me a 10-day prescription of Augmentin, a 5-day Z-Pak, antibiotics. And yes, that cleared up the pneumonia. But while I was taking those antibiotics, I started swelling in my legs and into my abdomen, and with a lot of extra water weight. I gained 15 pounds. Every day we weigh myself on the bed. The bed has a built-in scale. I've been 245 pounds plus minus a pound or two for a year. And it just started going up and up and up to the point I was over 260 pounds. I called my doctor, told her about it. She ordered an echocardiogram and an EKG, both done in my house. And the first echocardiogram got messed up, so they had to redo it. So it was another week later before she finally got the results. And then once she saw the results of the echocardiogram, she finally prescribed some Lasix, which is a diuretic. It makes you urinate. And once I started on that, I started losing. I've lost over 10 pounds from the max, but I still have a bit to go. Unfortunately, the echocardiogram and the EKG showed some scary results. And she said I needed to find a cardiologist, hopefully who has specializes or knows about heart failure. Um, and that was my goal. It's difficult because it is near impossible for me to travel. Like I said, I've been living out of this hospital bed for years and years. Now, I've gone outside before the virus, before the pandemic. I would go outside on occasion. I do have a power wheelchair. It is not in great condition. Frankly, it breaks quite a lot. I can hardly, usually cannot get through an entire session outside without a wire getting loose. And Mom O'Prey, my mother, literally having to come outside, take the back of the wheelchair off, and she knows how to fix it. It's a pain in the ass. It's always gets my anxiety going, but knock wood, she's managed to fix it each time, and I get back inside. The chair used to work until there was a recall. The recall was because if you didn't get it fixed, the chair could just start moving on its own. So that is scary as shit. So of course we had the recall done, and ever since they fixed it, it effed up the chair. And that was years ago, and we called them back to fix it. They tried to fix it. They tried to fix it again. They have not yet ever been able to fix the chair so that it actually works. But that's so my wheelchair doesn't work well, but I have one. Unfortunately, I was 6'4" before I got 6. I still am 6'4". And when I sit down and I'm 250 pounds, more or less. I'm a big guy. When I sit in a wheelchair, I'm still a big guy, a tall guy. And there has not yet been a handicap accessible van that I literally fit into. My head literally hits the ceilings of all the vans, of all the ambulettes. I have to recline my wheelchair to a position it's not supposed to be in when we're driving. And worse, because of the length of my wheelchair, because of my legs, I can't get in the van facing forward. I only fit on the lift facing backwards. And so not only am I in an awkward position in an ambulette, I'm backwards and I'm holding on for dear life. The couple of times we were able to take an ambulette. Most times we call an ambulette, they send an ambulette I can't fit into at all. We had one company that had one ambulette that I could fit in, and they said they couldn't guarantee they could even send that ambulette anymore. They stopped coming. So when I have to travel to a doctor's office, it is literally by ambulance. And that means, and that's not like you can't call 911 and get an ambulance to go to a doctor's office. An ambulance like that will only take you to a hospital, an emergency room. And an emergency room isn't going to admit you to the hospital unless you've got either something seriously wrong or, basically seriously wrong. An emergency room just wants to get you, quote unquote, stable, and then they discharge you, and then they want you to follow up and come back and see a doctor on your own. But again, you need an ambulance. I need an ambulance to get to one. Now, the ambulance you call to go to a doctor's office is not the same as the ambulance company that comes from the hospital. Frankly, they're cheaper, cheaply run, shittier, smaller, less experienced people. Very nice, some of them very nice, but these are the less experienced EMTs. Many of them told me, for my own safety, don't ever call this particular company again. Uh, and you know what? They were probably right. They badmouth their own companies. And I think they were probably being honest. We tried calling once. We explained to them several times I needed the bariatric stretcher, meaning the big person stretcher, and a bariatric team. And they came with the pediatric stretcher, meaning for a child. It then took them 2 hours to get the correct stretcher, by which time the doctor I was going to see had already left because they had to perform surgery that day. So that was a completely wasted day and lost time to see a doctor. Another time, when we actually got the correct stretcher and made it to a cardiologist office several years ago, despite my mom talking to the cardiologist, explaining we were coming in an ambulance, confirming that we could fit inside their office. Well, we got there, and problem number one, I really didn't fit into the elevator. We had to jury rig the stretcher into a very uncomfortable, painful position to even get into the elevator. Then, once we got out of the elevator, yes, we made it into the doctor's waiting room, but then the stretcher couldn't fit into any of the exam rooms at a cardiologist office outside a hospital. It was like they had never seen anybody in a stretcher before. So they tried to get me in a room, and so I was there to speak to a cardiologist, and the cardiologist literally could not even take my blood pressure because all of his blood pressure machines were attached to the walls inside the exam rooms. He didn't even have a portable blood pressure machine to take my blood pressure in the hallway, which is the closest I could get to an exam room. It was another total waste of a day and time and money, frankly. A lot of money. Those ambulance rides are not free, and they're not cheap. But the money really, honestly, was the least of it. Literally going in an ambulance, especially the smaller ambulances that are used to bring people to doctor's offices, for somebody my size, it is not only severely uncomfortable, I have terrible anxiety, it's scary as F, and like it literally, my heart is racing. You feel every single bump, and believe me, the roads in New York City, they're bad. They are so bad. And even when my heart was good, I felt like I was having a heart attack just going the 10 or 15 minutes to a nearby hospital or doctor's office. The fact that I'm told now my heart is pumping less than half the blood it should normally be pumping, I think I would literally die. I'm afraid for my physical life that if I had to get in an ambulance or if I had to get into an ambulance, that I might not make it to wherever I'm going. Maybe a hospital if I had to call 911. Those are bigger ambulances with more experienced EMTs. Maybe I could do that. But that doesn't solve the problem of talking to a cardiologist. The reality of the situation is I've been living like this for over a decade. We have amassed a ton of stuff here in my home. I have a pulse ox. I check my oxygen, my heart rate, my blood pressure, my temperature. We check all the vitals at any time. We've found companies that come to the house to do EKGs, echocardiograms, sonograms, ultrasounds, x-rays, um, almost any diagnostic test you can think of, almost. We found people to do it. If, God forbid, I needed IV antibiotics, we found a place that can come and put in a PICC line. And if you don't know what a PICC line is, I hope you never need to. But for those who do, it's a big thing. So that is all stuff that, yes, normally is done in a hospital, but we found places that do these things. Now, a lot of people said, well, can't you just find a cardiologist? And have sent me links to cardiologists, and I do appreciate it, but it's not that simple. Even cardiologists that claim to do telehealth, many, not all, but many of them that I've spoken to all want the first visit, at least the first visit, to be done in person. They refuse to take a telehealth visit as a first visit. And that kind of sucks for me. I could deal with telehealth. Most ideally would be a cardiologist who could come to my home to see me in person, put the stethoscope on my chest, just hear what they hear and talk and see me in person. That would be great. But my primary care doctor, she does use the stethoscope. She has seen me in person. She sees me in person fairly regularly. If I couldn't get an in-person visit from a cardiologist, a virtual or telehealth visit from a cardiologist, I believe would probably be okay to get me started. Like I said, I have my test results for the echocardiogram. I have my test results from the EKG. I have my test results from the chest x-rays. I have test results from an abdominal ultrasound. I have my doctor's notes over the course of treating me for the pneumonia. I got my first COVID vaccine, the first Moderna shot, at the end of April, about 3 weeks before I got the pneumonia. I was due to get the second shot while I had the pneumonia, while I was on the antibiotics. And my primary care doctor said, no, don't take the second shot yet. And at this point, it has still been postponed. But I did get the first shot. I am pretty good COVID vaccination. I know the second shot is strongly encouraged. I just need a doctor to tell me that, yeah, it's okay, it's safe to get, because to be quite frank, I see the CDC and people looking at mostly young people, but men who got the COVID shot and had heart problems, not unlike the heart problems I seem to be having. So I need to get an okay that, yeah, I can get the second COVID shot and it's not going to kill me. Something like that would be great to hear from a cardiologist at this point. Or maybe they say don't get it. Maybe they say don't get it. I don't know. I'm not the doctor. But that's where we are. I have one COVID shot out of 2. The other thing is, if nobody had told me I had heart failure or myocarditis, I probably wouldn't have known. I really didn't feel all that bad until they told me that my ejection fraction was between 25 and 30%. Previously in 2016, I had gone into the hospital with a shortness of breath, and they did an angiogram in the hospital, and they said that my arteries by my heart were clean. But they did do, and they saw a low ejection fraction at the time of around 30 or 35%. And they sent me home to see a cardiologist. And uh, the only, I couldn't see a cardiologist because of the problems I mentioned earlier. I spoke to a cardiologist I knew as a friend, but he wasn't able to see me as a patient. And he said, uh, being they couldn't find a cause, it could very well have been a virus. And he suggested wait 6 months and get retested. And so it's what we did. We waited 6 months, got retested, and sure enough, I got an echocardiogram 6 months later, and the ejection fraction was back up to normal. And then I got another one, another 6 months after that, and the ejection fraction was even better. So that's why in 2017, I have an echocardiogram giving me a clean bill of health on my heart. So this, I don't know if it's from a virus. I don't know if it's from a side effect, or if it's a new issue. I'm not sure. I really think I just need a cardiologist to look at my test results. And my guess is they will prescribe me some type of pill. I know there's a lot of pills out there for heart failure, that they would prescribe me some pill, and in 3 months or 6 months, want to redo the echocardiogram. And if that's what the plan is, if that's what they want to do, we can do that. And I really don't think I need to come into a cardiologist's office to do that. But I'm an engineer, not a doctor, and I acknowledge that. Um, I am trying to find a cardiologist who will talk to me either in person or over the phone or over virtual health, uh, after they see all the tests. I've got the tests, I've got the results. Um, what I need is anybody out there, if you know a cardiologist, one who's dealt with heart failure, who is willing to go above and beyond, to help me, to help somebody in my position. And I know it is a big ask, but I know there are doctors out there who have come through for me in the past. There was a doctor at the hospital I ended up in 2013. I had to have an operation. 2011, I had a thoracic surgery because I had a big fluid buildup behind my lung, and I had to have a major surgery. And the doctor saw I couldn't make it to his office. We tried and tried and tried, and he finally said, "You know what? We'll go old school." He brought his assistant and a machine, and they came here, and they came to my house every couple of weeks for several months as the drainage tubes were slowly being pulled out of my body after the surgery. And that man is a saint, and I thank him every day. He made our lives so much better, and it saved my life. It saved my life, and Mama pray, and we thank him. I know I'm asking a lot, and I know this isn't the way medicine is generally done these days, but I have been through a lot. And again, it's in that video. I'll link it in the description. It was a year of hell, and it's been a long it's been a long road, not to quote Enterprise. It's been a long road getting from there to here, and I need a little help. I need a little help. I need somebody willing to do the unusual, to either come in person or to take the call. And I'm not asking to do this for free, mind you. I have insurance. I have Medicare with a supplement. I if I need to private pay, we can work something out. Um, I'm I'm non-ambulatory. Mom will probably want me to put that in there, that I'm non-ambulatory. That's something that doctors and nurses understand. It basically means, God forbid, is something I can't get out of my house on my own. I can't get out of this bed on my own. Um, Literally, I eat, sleep, and do my business in this bed. Um, and I've been doing it for a long time. I used to get physical therapy. We had to stop it because of the pandemic. I was looking forward to restarting the physical therapy once I got fully immunized, but that's on hold because I wasn't able to get the second shot because I got the pneumonia. So I hope we could restart some physical therapy and I can get some more movement back that makes it's not going to get me to walk, but it just keeps my body looser, transferring into a wheelchair. I know I can't transfer myself into a wheelchair. We use a Hoyer lift, but it just makes life easier to have some more mobility in my legs, and they're not all as tight as they've grown in the last year without any physical therapy. But I don't need the physical therapy now. I don't need money now. What I need, please, is a cardiologist who's willing to do a little above and beyond, and they will have my eternal gratitude, and Mamo prays eternal gratitude, and even Sisso prays, because I'm sorry. I don't want to say I needed an exception, but I need it. I need the exception. I don't know what else to do. Um, I don't know how else to get help. Yes, there are other people in worse situations. I understand that. When I spent some time in a rehab and I saw people who were quadriplegics, who were frankly living more to life than I am now. There was a guy who was a quadriplegic. He went parachuting. He went surfing. He was like the star of everything. And to this day, I don't know how he did it, but in one respect, he didn't have pain. He couldn't move, but he didn't have pain. I can still feel my legs. I can't move them, but I can still feel them, and to a point, and they hurt. When they get banged into a wall by a, inexperienced EMT, as they often have been, it hurts. When they get smashed by an inexperienced physical therapist, as they have been, they hurt. When they get caught in the ramp, because I was going outside to try to see something in the night sky, and I forgot. It was my fault. I forgot there was a little ramp, and I wasn't going straight out onto a flat surface, and my leg got stuck under My wheelchair, it hurt. It didn't hurt for a day, didn't hurt for a week, it hurt for months. And yeah, so I still feel the pain. And I don't know if that's what makes it different from someone who is like more certified quadriplegic, paraplegic. They've lost all sensation. Um, I do have sensation, and it's kind of the worst of both worlds. It's good in that the doctors say, "Oh, well, you'd be walking." When they promised me I'd be walking in a year, and then it was 2 years, and then they stopped answering their phones. They promised I'd be walking. We made so many decisions thinking this was a temporary condition and that I'd be working. I'd be back to work in a year, 2 years tops. Um, and they didn't even prepare us that this was going to go on, that this could go on for 10, 12, 15 or plus years. But again, I don't want to get into that. That's all discussed in the other video. I wanted to put this out, and I don't want it. I'm going to cut it here really soon. Thank you, thank you, thank you to everybody who's helped, who's reached out, who's sent me words of encouragement and support. I appreciate it. You can contact me on Twitter. I'm at BirdOPrey5. I'm BirdOPrey5 on Twitter, on Facebook, on Minds, on Gab, on Locals. Or the other best way to reach me is by email. Don't laugh. Don't laugh. BirdOPrey5. And again, it's the letter O, not the number 0, the letter O. BirdOPrey, the number 5, at AOL.com. And before you laugh, I've had that email address since AOL existed. So 25, 30 years, 30 years with the same active email address. I think that's some type of record. Okay. I'm not, it's not worth laughing about. I think you should be impressed. Okay. Now, I'll be honest, it's not my primary email address, but I check it every day, multiple times a day. So it's a perfectly good email address to use to reach me. BirdOPrey5 at AOL.com. And I appreciate those, like I said, who've already reached out. Frankly, from what I got Friday night, there doesn't seem to be anybody in this first round who's promising. There were a couple, but today they both basically said that their guys weren't able to do what I needed, and instead they sent me a listing of cardiologists in my area, which I appreciate, but it was basically the same info I could get from a Google search. And, I do have a couple of calls in to a couple of cardiologists I did find on my own, but they've been closed over the weekend. So we will see what they say come this coming week. I don't know what they're going to say. I wish I could say I wish I could say I have a good feeling about it, but I suspect their answers are going to be like all the others, in that they want to see me first in person before they can accept me as a new patient and do telehealth visits. We'll see. So please, once again, if you know anybody, if you have a friend, a family member, somebody that owes you a little favor, I'm in Bayside, Queens, New York City, uh, right on the edge of Long Island of Nassau County. It is a not hard to get to. I am right off the Clearview Expressway. Plenty of parking. It's a single family home neighborhood. There's plenty of parking up and down the block. There's a driveway you could use. Nobody has to. You don't have to walk far. You could park in my driveway. I'm right here. There's a ramp. If you have any equipment you want to bring up, there's a wheelchair ramp. It'll bring you right to. I'm on maybe 4 or 5 steps above the ground. You can bring it right in. We have a dog, but she's a beagle, and she will go downstairs because she's afraid of new people, so she won't bother you. Um, I and That's it. That's it. I could please use your help if you can. I doubt anybody's still watching. If you are, thank you so much. Once again, thank you, Captain Trek. Thank you, Gary, aka Nerdrotic. Thank you, Doomcock. Thank you, everyone who's contacted me, who reads this or watches this, and anyone who helps. Oh, and thank you, PJ Orville Nation. You also been a big help, and you know how you have been. A lot of people have, but those guys have gone above and beyond. So thank you, all of you. And if I hear something, I will give another update. And I think I should just end it here. So Qapla all, live long and prosper, everyone. I'll see you around. Qapla.